in the next couple of minutes. So I joined El Al around a year ago, basically to drive digital transformation and to introduce more innovation to the airline. In the next couple of minutes, I want to share with you a little bit the highlights of disruption innovation in airlines and El Al's strategy to deal with this disruption by becoming the smartest airline for the startup nation. But before I'm going to talk about innovation in aviation, I want to continue what you just said and talk about innovation in general. It's common knowledge that innovation works in S-curves. So this is time, this is number of customers. This is true for television, cell phone, digital cameras, you name it. Any new technology, in the beginning you'll have early adopters, then at some point all the majority will jump on the bandwagon, and then at the end, everybody adopts the new technology. It's the new normal. And we are all very familiar with cases of companies that could not survive the new normal. Not because they didn't try. They invested billions in it. They had the smartest people working on the problem. But they either just couldn't win it in the marketplace or change their DNA. Now, what makes this especially challenging in a world where innovation is increasing its pace and there's constantly technology innovation is actually that S-curves build on top of each other. So if you talk about cell phones, right? In the 90s, we have the cell phone revolution. Then around 12 years ago, we had smartphone revolution. And now we're on the brink of the next S-curve. It could be voice assistants like Alexa or IoT or wearables. I don't know yet. It's also quite clear in this case that we had different winners in each one of the S-curves. Sometimes company actually can climb the S-curve and change with the new technology disruption. One of the greatest examples is Microsoft. So they actually transitioned and changed themselves to move from selling OS and software to enterprise servers, Outlook, and now to the cloud. There's a reason why they've been one of the most valuable companies in the planet for the last 20 years. So what's happening in aviation? In aviation, we're currently in the process of transition between two different S-curves. The one that we just talked about, I call it digital aviation, started with open sky regulation and intense competition. So in Israel, every year you have an additional 10% in the supply of capacity to the market. This is combined with changing business model from low-cost carriers, the unbundling of the core product. And of course, what fuels this S-curve is customers going digital, where they can search, compare, and buy tickets across a million different websites and airlines. And then we're just starting the next S-curve, which will be all around the use of data, machine learning, and AI. It will be all around who's going to win and own the customer based on leveraging, creating customer experience and loyalty based on leveraging their data. And will be all around who can transform their value chain. More about that later. And the challenge for us is that we actually have to fight these two frontiers at the same time. On one hand, we have to keep innovating on the digital front. So for example, we recently launched a new mobile app with significant improvement that creates a better experience for our customers at their day of travel. We're also innovating our core product. So we're buying new planes, we're refurbishing existing planes, we're installing Wi-Fi, we're opening new routes. Here I have the example of the route to San Francisco that will start in May, and I hope that many of you will fly that route, basically connecting Silicon Valley and the startup nation. At the same time, while we're doing all of that, we are preparing for the next S-curve. Now, why AI is so important for airlines? I don't know if many of you are aware, but airlines and aviation is actually one of the most complex industries out there. It's actually a mix of many different industries combined. For example, El Al is the biggest restaurant in Israel. We feed 6 million customers every year. Think about the logistical complexity of preparing that food, bringing it to the customer, getting rid of the waste, if I want to connect it to Loop. We also have massive engineering and production maintenance factories, right? Every big plane, actually every few months, have to be taken apart completely, checked across all sides, and then built again. We're also an industry that's super rich in data. So the rule of thumb is that a modern airplane generates 1 terabyte of data every flight. Think about the magnitude of that. We're also an industry with rich use of advanced analytics. So you're all probably aware that when you fly, the person next to you in the same seats actually paid a very different price. The reason behind it is we have fixed capacity, basically flying tubes of metal through the air with fixed cost, most of it fuel. And we have to maximize the revenues. And we have dozens of analysts and analytical software that employs economic theory, game theory, and other analytics methods to make sure we maximize that revenue. So given all of that combined, it's no surprise that in a recent analysis done by McKinsey, they found out that airline here, basically they say it's travel, transport, and logistics and retail. So basically an airline is actually one of the industries that has the highest potential for impact from AI. And that insight led us to define our next technology strategy for the next couple of years. We want to become the smartest airline for the startup nation, improving our customer experience and loyalty, increasing revenues, and delivering operational excellence and reducing our costs. And we realized that one of our biggest assets is that we're actually the airline of the startup nation. So to deliver that, we're actually connecting to the startup ecosystem with many different ways to do that. One of them is by launching cockpit innovation. The other one is working with startups and doing startup competition. I want to share a few examples in the next couple of minutes. We worked with an Israeli startup that created a hybrid chatbot. Basically what it does is when you can actually chat to our call center via WhatsApp, the bot will try to answer. And when the bot cannot answer you, they'll actually transfer it to an agent in the background. And the agent will then respond to the customer, and the bot will support the agent. We're also starting a pilot with Argos. Argos was an Israeli cybersecurity company that was bought a couple of years ago, and they have technology for cybersecurity of autonomous vehicles. We're trying to see if that technology actually applies to connected airplanes. And in this example, so as I mentioned, every few weeks, you actually have to do an exterior inspection of the plane to see there are no damages. This is actually a French startup. They develop a drone. The drone flies around the plane, takes high-resolution pictures of the plane, and uses machine learning and analytics to see if the plane had any damages, for example, lightning strikes or rivets, etc. Very exciting technology that we're exploring. So we're looking actively for startups that can help us transform the business. And if there are any people in the crowd that have an exciting startup or idea that uses machine learning and AI and think they can help us in our journey to become the smartest airline for the startup nation, please feel free to contact me. Thank you very much.